You won't wake up one day with all the answers. Awakening doesn't come with fireworks. It begins gradually, in silence. Suddenly, what used to affect you doesn't affect you anymore. What held you back lets go. And what once dominated you loses its power. That's how you realize something has changed. And there's no turning back. If you are a chosen one, you will recognize these signs, not because someone told you, but because you feel it. You feel that you no longer belong in the same places, that certain conversations have lost their meaning, that some pains are no longer part of who you are now. And that's scary at first, but it soon becomes relief, lightness, freedom. Many expect the fifth dimension to arrive as a grand revelation, but it comes in simplicity, in calmness, in what stops happening. You stop reacting, explaining yourself, comparing. The mind slows down. Time aligns. Peace, once so distant, begins to dwell in you. And it's in that silence that everything is revealed. This transformation isn't magical. It's real. It's lived day by day, in the little details. And if you're feeling these changes, even without fully understanding them, know this: you are not alone. There is a generation awakening. People like you, choosing truth, even when it hurts. Freedom, even when it scares. Awareness, even when it's quiet. My name is George, and if this message spoke to you, I ask that you follow this channel. Here we walk together. No ready-made formulas, no empty promises. Only awareness, truth, and presence. You don't need to rush. You just need to keep going. Because if you've come this far, it's because something in you already knows this is your moment. 1. Something in you begins to quiet down. You don't notice it at first. There's no marked date, no great revelation. But suddenly, something inside you starts to change. That inner voice that always wanted to be understood goes quiet. And the most curious part is that it doesn't scare you. In fact, it brings unexpected relief. A new silence that seems to make sense. Before, everything seemed to require explanation. Why did you choose this path? Why did you decide to distance yourself from certain people? Why do you live this way? You used to answer, argue, justify yourself. But now you no longer feel the need. You still care, but the urge to convince others simply isn't there anymore. It's as if you left that behind. It's strange to notice this kind of change, because no one warns you that it will happen. No one tells you that spiritual maturity arrives in silence, without fanfare. You only realize it when you start to feel lighter in situations that used to exhaust you, as if suddenly the weight of explaining yourself disappeared. And that is liberating. Often this scares those around you, because people got used to your old version, the one that justified everything, that gave in, that tried to please. But now you simply observe. You respect others, but you respect yourself first. And there is no longer room inside you for unnecessary battles. What doesn't nourish you doesn't hold you anymore. The most beautiful part of this transformation is realizing that you're not closing yourself off from the world. You're simply opening up to yourself. Accessing the fifth dimension is not about isolating yourself, but about finding yourself. It's not about controlling everything around you, but about learning to sustain who you are, even if no one else understands. This is the beginning of a new life. 2. Anxiety about the future goes away. You don't notice it all at once, but you feel it. Gradually, that anxiety that used to follow you like a shadow starts to fade. You still think about the future, of course, but it no longer scares you like it used to. It doesn't trap you. It doesn't consume you. It's as if tomorrow has lost the power to crush you with pressure and expectations. Before, your mind was always busy trying to predict everything. You'd get lost in thoughts like, what if it goes wrong? What if I'm not ready? What if I never make it? These questions used to take over your day, your energy, your peace. But now, they still appear, yes, but you look at them differently, and you choose not to feed them. This awareness transforms how you live in the present. Before, it was just a bridge to the future, something to endure until life got better. But now, you begin to see beauty in the now, in the details, in the journey. And that gives you a sense of freedom you may have never experienced before. It doesn't mean everything is resolved, nor that you've stopped having goals or objectives. But now there is a space inside you where the future is not a monster, but a possibility. You've stopped fighting against it and started walking with it, side by side. That changes everything. This new way of being connects you with a true essence of spirituality. Presence. When you are present, the fear of tomorrow decreases, because you feel that somehow you are being guided, that there is something greater walking with you. And that feeling is what we call peace. The peace of someone who no longer runs after time but walks with it. 3. You learn to respond, not react. Over time, you realize that not everything deserves a response. Before, it was like you were always ready to defend yourself. Someone would say something rude, and boom, it was like pressing a button. Your heart would race, your mind would spiral, and you'd be in yet another argument that only drained you inside. Now, something has changed. The provocation arrives, but you don't react impulsively. You feel, breathe, observe, and choose. You choose whether to get involved or not. And many times, the best choice is silence. Not because you've become cold, but because you understand that you no longer need to waste energy on everything that comes your way. This internal pause is one of the greatest achievements someone can reach. It's when you start to notice that you can feel something without needing to act immediately. You can feel discomfort, but don't need to attack. You can be bothered, but don't need to respond. That space between feeling and acting is called awareness, and it changes everything. You still feel anger, sadness, frustration. None of that disappears. The difference is that now you don't drown in those feelings. You acknowledge them, give them space to pass, and move on. Before, you'd get lost in them. Now you navigate through them without letting the current carry you away. That's emotional maturity in practice. Over time, you also start to choose more wisely where and with whom to invest your energy. Not every conversation deserves your attention. Not every provocation deserves a response. You become more selective. And that selection is not arrogance, it's self-care. It's knowing that your peace is far too valuable to be wasted on what doesn't matter. This is one of the clearest signs of awakening. You no longer need to prove anything, nor constantly defend yourself. You simply are. And in that space of presence, provocations lose power, criticism loses echo, and your soul finds rest. Because you finally understood that responding is power. But choosing not to respond is sometimes wisdom. 4. Connections break without pain. There comes a moment when certain relationships begin to fall apart. Not because of fights, not because of betrayal, but because something inside you has changed. And that change creates distance. A distance that used to hurt, but now feels natural. It's as if you simply realized you no longer need to force what no longer makes sense. You no longer feel the same need to keep close those who don't walk in the same direction. And this has nothing to do with ego. It has to do with energy. It has to do with frequency. It has to do with realizing that you are no longer in the same place. And it's okay if someone doesn't want to join you in this new phase. This movement may seem lonely, but in truth, It is liberating. When you allow yourself to let go of what is no longer aligned, you make room for new connections, more sincere, deeper, more truthful. People who vibrate at the same frequency begin to appear, and what once was effort now becomes alignment. Some goodbyes hurt, but even in the pain, there is peace, because deep down, you feel that you're doing the right thing. You're respecting your own journey. You're choosing to stay true to who you are becoming. And that is worth more than any attempt to please or maintain out of obligation. This kind of distancing is scary at first, but later you realize that you're not losing. You're gaining clarity. You're gaining inner space. You're becoming lighter. And with that, more prepared for the new, for connections that don't require effort to exist, that flow, that add, that embrace. The fifth dimension teaches this, that true connection cannot be forced, that real love does not hold tight, that true presence respects space, and that sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself and for the other is simply to let go. With peace, with gratitude, with maturity. 5. Comparison loses its power. For a long time, you looked in the mirror with the feeling of being behind. It seemed like everyone around you had already achieved something important. Meanwhile, you were still trying to figure out where to go. Seeing others moving forward stirred something in you, as if there was a silent race in which you were always in last place. But something changed. That look at others with pressure started to transform. Now you see different paths, not competitions. You understand that the other person's time is not yours, that there is no single model of success, that each person has their own internal clock, and that takes an enormous weight off your shoulders. You also learn to celebrate your small victories. Things that once seemed insignificant now have value. Sleeping well, having peace, feeling at home with yourself, that becomes more important than any external achievement. Because you see that what truly builds life is what comes from the inside out. You understand that each soul is writing its own story, and that no journey can be copied. Every step you take is valid, even if it seems small. What matters is that it makes sense to you, that it comes from your heart, not from the pressure the world tries to impose. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, but once it starts, there's no going back. Because the sweetness of living in peace with your own time is too precious to trade for hurry. And when you give yourself this gift, everything changes. You no longer feel behind, you feel alive. 6. The noise of the mind fades. The mind has always been switched on, like a radio you couldn't turn off. Thoughts ran non-stop, reviewing the past, projecting the future, rehearsing dialogues, creating worries. It was exhausting. You would wake up already in mental motion. Even in moments of external silence, inside there was noise, a restlessness that followed you all the time. But then something different started to happen. A new space appeared between the thoughts, not emptiness, but a pause, as if there were rest between one thought and another. And that space started to grow, slowly. Little by little, the noise lost strength. That mental flood gave way to a sense of presence. This new silence brings you closer to your intuition. You start to hear a more subtle voice inside yourself. It's not an idea that screams. It's a feeling that guides. It doesn't force, it leads. And you start learning to trust that voice. Because you realize it was always there. It just couldn't be heard with so much noise. This is one of the most precious signs of the fifth dimension. When the noise of the mind fades, you reconnect with something that is only yours. A space of peace, clarity, and truth. And in that space, life gains a new flavor. You don't need to understand everything nor control everything. You just need to be. and for the first time that is enough. 7. You no longer need external validation. There was a time when you wouldn't take a step without seeking some kind of approval. You'd ask, consult, wait for someone to validate your choice. It was as if your path was only right if others said it was, and you believed you needed that to move forward. It was a constant search for safety in other people's opinions. With awakening, that changes. Gently you begin to notice a new certainty being born inside you. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. It simply shows up. And you feel it. You feel that you know. That you no longer need other people's opinions to walk. That quiet inner voice is already saying what you need to hear. This change brings real freedom. You start walking lighter. You begin to position yourself more clearly. You start saying no without guilt and yes with conviction. You begin to live without carrying the weight of needing to please everyone. And this lightness is transformative. It puts the control of your life back in your hands. This confidence that comes from within is one of the greatest marks of awakening. It is simple, calm, and deeply stable. You feel that even in doubt, there is a certainty that supports your steps, an inner voice that says, keep going. And that voice, even in silence, becomes your greatest guide. This is the point when you realize you've arrived, not at a final destination, but at an inner place of stability. You know who you are. You know what you feel. You know that you are learning, but you no longer need permission to live your truth. And in that recognition, something deep is revealed. You are exactly where you needed to be. 8. Time aligns with your inner self. You felt behind before, as if you were always running after something. You looked at other people's lives and thought you should be further ahead, with more achievements, more answers, more certainty. That created a quiet anxiety, as if you were failing to meet some invisible expectation you didn't even know the origin of. Urgency gives way to trust. Comparison gives way to compassion. You become kinder with yourself. You begin to treat your own journey with respect, with care. And you realize that each stage lived, no matter how small it seems, is part of something much greater. Something that is being aligned, adjusted, prepared. The internal pressures begin to ease. You stop criticizing yourself for not being where you should be, because now you know you are where you are able to be, with what you have and who you are. And that's enough. Pressure gives way to presence. Rushing gives way to wisdom. You trade despair for trust. This harmony with your own time makes you walk lighter. You commit to the journey, but you don't hurt yourself in it. You walk with intention, but without rushing the process. And that changes your perspective. You stop living according to unreachable goals and begin to live with more meaning, at your pace, in your time. 9. Peace arrives and stays. There comes a moment when peace is no longer just a visitor. It becomes home. It settles in slowly, quietly, and stays. Even when the days are hard, even when problems remain. The peace of the fifth dimension doesn't depend on everything being okay. It is born from the place where you learn to trust, even without understanding everything. You notice this peace in small moments. In the silence of the morning, in the way you respond to situations, in your breath, which used to be shallow and now flows better, in your gaze, which no longer carries so much pressure. This peace didn't come from outside. It came from within. It was built, step by step, with each choice of presence. You no longer need to prove that you're okay. You no longer seek approval to feel safe. This peace you feel is different from anything you've experienced before. It is constant. It is solid. And at the same time, light. It stays with you on good days and bad ones, because it doesn't depend on what happens. It comes from who you've become. This new awareness even transforms the way you relate to time, to people, to your own thoughts. You don't run away anymore. You no longer fight against everything. You accept what is. And in that acceptance, something magical happens. You find peace even without controlling anything. And that changes everything. Life flows better. You breathe better. You live better. The fifth dimension is this state of deep presence, of connection with something greater, of surrender without weakness, of letting go with awareness. And when this peace settles in, you know, something has truly changed, not on the outside, but on the inside. And no one can take that away, because it's yours, because it was born from your journey, your process, your awakening. You are not trying to reach this peace. You are living in it. And now, even if the winds change, you no longer get lost, because you've found shelter within yourself. And while many are still searching outside, you discovered that home was always there, in the silence of the heart, where everything starts to make sense. Arriving here doesn't mean everything is resolved, but that you no longer live from the same place. Something has changed inside you, even if no one notices from the outside. It's as if life continues the same, but you're going through it all with a new perspective. A calmer perspective, one that is more yours. And that is the true sign that you are awakening. The fifth dimension is not a place you go to. It's a state you begin to inhabit. Slowly, without hurry. When you start reacting less, caring less, blaming yourself less. That's when it all begins. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you've always been, before so many layers and expectations. You no longer need to prove that you're on the right path. You feel it. Even if there are still doubts, even if the challenges continue, there is something inside you that is firmer, more stable. And that silent strength is what sustains your walk now. You no longer need external guarantees. Your own presence already gives you security. Along this journey, some things have stopped. Urgency, comparison, the need to be understood. Others have been born. Inner silence, trust, lightness, peace. These subtle changes mark your access to a new consciousness. They didn't come from a book, nor from a magical technique. They came from your surrender, from your choice to become true. And being true requires courage. Courage to let go of what no longer makes sense, to walk away without guilt, to stop running where no one is waiting for you, to accept your own pace and still keep going, because that's what the chosen ones do. They keep going, even when everything seems still, even when there are no certainties yet. You've already realized that you don't need big answers to move forward. What you need is listening, presence, tuning in to what pulses inside you. When you access that, the world changes, even if it stays the same, because now you are different. You don't fight life anymore. You walk with it. This journey doesn't demand perfection. It asks for awareness. It asks for surrender. It asks for truth. And if you've made it this far, it's because you are saying yes to all of that, even if in silence. You're not chasing a spiritual title, nor trying to appear evolved. You just want to live with more meaning. And that, in itself, is sacred. The fifth dimension doesn't arrive with noise. It arrives with clarity, with calm, with a strange feeling of peace in the midst of chaos. When you stop fighting who you are, when you feel whole even on confusing days, when you find rest within yourself, that's when you know you're already living in a new frequency. If any part of this journey touched you in a special way, comment below. Which of these 9 changes have you already noticed in your life? Your sharing may strengthen someone going through the same process. And together, we move forward, as a generation of chosen ones, awakening in silence, but with purpose.